So, how do we avoid the race condition? Mutual exclusion is needed, that is some way of making sure that if one process is using a shared variable or file, the other process is excluded from the same. So, mutual exclusion makes sure that if one process is using a shared variable, then you do not allow the other process to be coming inside and using that shared variable. You exclude the other processor from using the shared variable. So if P1 is using the shared variable or file, then the other process will be excluded. So P2 will be excluded from using that particular shared variable or file. Part of the time, a process is busy doing internal computations and other things that do not lead to race conditions. However, sometimes a process has to access shared resource that may lead to races. That part of the program where the shared memory is accessed is called the critical region or critical section. So the part of the program where the shared memory is accessed is called as the critical region or critical section. If we could arrange matters such as no two processes were ever in the critical section at the same time, we could avoid races. So the part of the program where the shared memory is accessed is called as the critical section. And what do we have to do? We have to avoid P1 and P2 from being in the critical section at the same time. Avoid them together in the critical section. Then only we can avoid race condition, avoid the races. So it is said that the part of the program where the shared memory is accessed is called as a critical region or critical section. So what are the requirements of mutual exclusion? Mutual exclusion, no two processes may be simultaneously inside their critical sections. That means P1 and P2 simultaneously means together. Together these two processes cannot be inside their critical regions at the same time. At the same time. A process that halts in its non-critical section must do so without interfering with other processes. So a process that halts in its non-critical section must do so without interfering with the other processes. It must not be possible for a process requiring access to a critical section to be delayed indefinitely. No deadlock or starvation. So it may not be possible for a process requiring access to a critical section to be delayed indefinitely. No deadlock or starvation. When no process is in the critical section, any process can request entry into the critical section and it will be permitted the entry without delay. So what are they saying? That if there is no process in the critical region, for example, P1 has exited the critical region. So P1 is not present in the critical region. P2 will be given entry. So it will be given to the critical section entry without any delay, means immediately as soon as P1 exits, P2 will be given the entry. No assumptions are made about the relative process speed or the number of processors. A process remains inside the critical section for only finite time. That means only for a particular time limit only you can be in the critical section. Because if one process will be given infinite time, say if process P1 is given infinite time, then P2 will be starving. So we don't want starvation to take place, therefore we only give a finite time to a particular processor. So suppose for example process A enters the critical region. So it is entering entry section. Okay, and it is there. B attempts to enter the critical region but B is blocked. Why is B blocked? Because A is already present. A is already present in the critical region. Present in critical section. Next is B enters the critical section, because over here at this point A leaves the critical section. So this is nothing but the exit section for A. So A leaves the critical section. When A leaves the critical section, B enters the critical section, and then over here B leaves. So this is exit section for B, and this one is the entry section for B, entry section for B. So first we saw that A enters the critical region, B is not allowed to enter. Why? Because A is still present in the critical region. A will leave the critical region at this point. When A leaves the critical region, only B is allowed to enter in the critical region. And if you see where A is leaving, immediately B is allowed without any delay. The line is same one. So B is allowed without any delay as soon as A will leave. And then B leaves the critical region. This is nothing but mutual exclusion using critical region. So general structure of a typical process PI. So what do you have to do? Do entry section, you will take the entry under आओगे. So you will take the entry. Once you take the entry, you will go inside the critical section and then you will exit. So suppose there are two people and these two people want to use the washroom. So one will go inside the washroom. So first person will go. So that means the first person will take entry in the washroom. Use the washroom. Washroom is nothing but the critical section. Use the washroom. This washroom is critical section. And then it will exit the critical section. That means it will exit the washroom. When it exits the washroom, only then the second person understands that the washroom is now not occupied. So till it does not exist, what is it showing? The sign of occupied. That means till you don't exit the exit section, till you don't leave the exit section, till that time no other process will be allowed. So remainder session, while this is true, continue the procedure. So this is the basic idea about mutual exclusion, that you have an entry region. A process enters the critical region from that entry region, and once the process exits the critical region, only then another process is allowed to enter inside the critical region. Thank you.